Hey there, good people. So I am just getting back from Aventura, just north of Miami. I was at Grant Cardone's offices today speaking at an event. It was awesome. And it was interesting because one of the things that came up in the conversation today when we were on stage was this idea that so often the strategies that work the best to grow your business are the strategies that have been around forever. Like the core things that have been around forever and ever in business, always sort of coming back to those core things is so important. And one of the things I was asked today was what really differentiates certain business owners? What differentiates one consultant from another? What differentiates a leadership coach from another, or a keynote speaker from another, or a professional services provider from another? What is that thing that can really differentiate them? And one of the things that I pointed out as someone who spent an awful lot of time as a decision maker inside of other organizations, and I would say I'm still a decision maker today. I control stages, I control the spend of our company. Is the differentiation of business acumen, of really having sound business acumen in terms of how you communicate to the marketplace, how you communicate to decision makers and prospects and your existing clients and those who are helming centers of influence, those who are potential connectors for you, or what we call strategic introducers, the people who are going to make those strategic introductions for you. And so what is your business acumen and how are you approaching those conversations? So often the people who have the best websites or the best, you know, catchphrases or taglines on their website, and they have this brand that's like they put all this money into, immediately that sort of differentiation immediately gets usurped or immediately gets undermined when that consultant, when that coach, when that expert or professional services provider sends an email or opens their mouth and approaches a person who is in a position of authority. And by authority, I mean a position of making buying decisions for their organization. They control budget. They control who's able to speak on their stages, who can speak on their podcasts, who can get an article published in the industry association's publication. These people are authorities. They have that authority making, power of who's going to get the business or who's going to get access to our platforms. And so often, folks who've put so much time and energy into, let's say, their brand and their tagline and their positioning, the second that they approach these organizations, all of that investment in branding and frankly even all of the investing in the marketing that really led them up to that moment of getting in front of that authority figure, that decision maker figure, gets immediately just like it's like you clothesline yourself, you just knock the feet out from under you, or when you don't know how to approach those conversations with those decision makers, when you're kind of basically winging it and going on just just this idea of, oh, I'm just going to win these folks over. I'm just going to be personable. We're just going to have this great conversation and it's going to be great. And so now you're winging it. You're winging it when you get to these all critical conversations. One of the things we say at Bold House to our clients is, look, content is not king. Conversations that create cash flow in your business, that's what's king. Conversations create cash flow. Conversations are king. And so it's all about, you can promote. You can get all the visibility in the world. But if you're a consultant, you're a coach, you're an expert, you're a services provider, and your goal is to win corporate clients, And let me be clear, when I'm saying corporate clients, I'm talking about any type of organization, nonprofits, mid market companies, small enterprises, well funded technology startups in Silicon Valley, the global 2000, the Fortune 500, right? This is the B2B space, the corporate space. You do all of this time, energy, and effort marketing, publishing content, speaking at events, delivering webinars, being on podcasts, writing blog articles, sending newsletter emails, putting videos out on YouTube, putting out videos on TikTok and Instagram, getting your reels out there, hoping corporate decision makers see it. Okay, great. Let's say they do. Let's say they're sitting in your breakout session at your conference and it's like, great, you gave me this information. I got everything I need. And so now, as a decision maker, you fed me or you scratched my itch, right? You scratched my itch, and that was great. And you basically told me some things I already know and maybe a little something I didn't, but I'm now going to move on to my next task list. What's on my to-do list? What's in my email box? What conference call do I have with my team today? What work do I have to get done? And I'm just going to move on. I'm going to move on from that engagement that I had with you. And I as a decision maker, I'm going to move on because there was nothing that you gave me that allows me to think, oh, we should be having a conversation now. And so here's what I want to say to you about differentiation. Differentiation is about how you show up and how you talk to decision makers, your business acumen, and talking to decision makers on and being able to articulate to them a compelling reason why they would want to accept an invitation from you to have a conversation with you to get better educated on the services and the expertise that you provide. Because if you do not bridge that gap from visibility, from proximity to actually having a one-on-one conversation with these decision makers, then what was the point of speaking at the conference? What was the point of being on the podcast? What was the point of hosting the webinar or hosting the executive roundtables, one of our favorite things to teach? What was the point of doing any of those things to get visibility if you're not going to pull those folks into a conversation with you, invite them to have a conversation in a way that really compels them to have that conversation, and then be fully in control of exactly, precisely down to the minute, essentially, of what you should be doing when they say yes. So they say yes, they want to have a conversation with you. So then what does that look like? What is that conversation that you're having with these leaders? There is a business acumen that's part of that. And it is so rarely taught. It is one of the things that we teach our Bold House Collective members. It's part of our corporate client cash flow program, which is really where we help consultants and coaches and professional services providers and other types of experts to build their credibility and capabilities briefing so that they're able to have a conversation with a person of authority, a decision maker inside of an organization, whether it's a potential client, whether it's a potential center of influence, whether it's a potential strategic introducer, to be able to have that conversation with them in a way that's like, oh my gosh, this is such an easy conversation. And it's organized in such a way that the decision maker, the center of influence, the strategic introducer is like, yeah, this totally makes sense. And I understand exactly when we would need you, exactly who we would introduce you to, exactly why we would have you at our event to speak, or why we would want to be a referral partner with you, or have a JV with you, or in some other way collaborate. And for the prospects to say, wow, we see ourselves in every single thing that you're saying in this conversation with us. We completely see ourselves in this. These are the exact things that are happening in our organization. And everything you just laid out here about how you work with organizations is exactly what we need. And so there you go. That is real differentiation, because everyone else is really, their differentiation, I'm going to be honest with you, goes skin deep. It's like skin deep differentiation. The differentiation shows up in their, reels because they're, out on Instagram all the time, or it shows up in, okay, great, they've got great lifestyle photos, or they've got this fancy logo, or this fancy website, or this really catchy tagline, or they have a couple of sort of like quick NLP type expressions that they use when they're teaching, a conference breakout session or a keynote. And that's great. There's nothing wrong with having those things. But that is really only skin deep differentiation. The real differentiation for a decision maker, and I've been a decision maker, I was a decision maker for a decade. I'm still a decision maker in a different sort of hat now, right? The decision maker really sees the differentiation not because of a cool tagline, or again, a catchy expression. A decision maker sees differentiation when they're approached by an outside expert. They're approached by that consultant, that coaching expert, that corporate trainer, that keynote speaker, that marketing expert, that meeting planner. And that expert approaches that decision maker in such a powerful, compelling, mature way that instantaneously the decision maker is like, this is a different experience. I love how they're talking to me right now. I love how they're approaching me. Okay, I'll bite. Okay, I'm curious now. I will, yeah, let's go ahead and set up this meeting. You've really piqued my curiosity. And now the first yes that they're giving is, yes, I will have a meeting with you. Now imagine when you have the right scripts and you understand exactly what that process is going to look like to have that conversation, and you're able to show up fully empowered, confident, and clear in a meeting with the decision maker, where from the moment you say hello and you say to this decision maker, thank you for meeting with me, and I'm so glad you said yes, and here is really the focus of today's meeting, and this is what would really make this an effective, worthwhile conversation from our perspective. What would make this a worthwhile conversation from your perspective? And then you're ready. But the thing is, you're really ready to deliver. You know exactly how you're going to walk this potential client, this potential center of influence, this potential strategic introducer through a conversation with you in a way that is designed to be a give and take, designed to be a two-way conversation, not in a way that's awkward or feels like you're asking questions that, frankly, you have yet to earn the permission or the right to ask because you're just building rapport, but really starting to open up the relationship, deliver incredible insights and value to them in the course of this conversation. And to be able to have time to say, these are the problems that we help with, and this is how we've worked with other organizations. This is our background. This is what makes us so incredibly experienced in this area and why we are able to get such great results for our clients. And here are the ways in which we work with our clients. And here's how here's what's, flashing red on you on like your check engine light. If any of these check engine lights come on, we are the people to support you for that. So this is kind of one of our secret sauces here at Bolthouse, because here is the truth. When I left my job back in 2006, a long time ago, when I left my job, one of my first things that I thought to myself was, I need to go and speak to the people that I've worked with over the last decade. I have a great reputation. They understand how effective I am. These are the people who already know, like, and trust me. This is my professional network that I spent the last decade building. And these people would be naturally inclined in hiring my new consulting firm in order to work with them. I knew that. That made a lot of sense. What did not make sense to me was any of the approaches and how outside experts and outside salespeople had approached me when I was sitting on the corporate side of the decision-making table. It did not feel good. And I did not want to go into conversations with my professional network in a way that felt icky or salesy or sleazy or needy or pushy. I wanted to go into those conversations in a way that really felt like I was coming from a place of service, a place of empathy for the challenges that they were up against, and really from a place of just wanting to educate them. Because what I wanted was not to sell anybody anything. What I wanted was to educate my prospective clients on when and why they would need me, and when that time came, what it was going to look like for us to work together. And that is really how dating all the way back. Now it has, this process has definitely evolved over the last 15 years, because we've worked with thousands of small business owners, and we have worked with organizations, and so we have continued obviously to perfect that process. But that is our proprietary approach to being able to have conversations with decision makers. And it's really just such a powerful process that it has allowed so many of our clients, the consultants, the coaches, the experts, and the small business owners and diverse business owners who have worked with us, to recoup so much of their investments that they've made in marketing that never went anywhere. Because while the marketing effort, yes, did lead to visibility, the visibility did not lead to conversations that create cash flow in their business. Once we insert this process of first network activation, all the people that you already know, all the people that you've spent the last 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40 years building relationships with, getting visibility in front of, being able to reactivate that network, and then have a real compelling reason for why they would want to have a conversation with you, and an exact framework on how to have that conversation so that it feels really great for both you and for them, that they're reaching across the table. One of our high-end clients, she calls it the arm reach moment. The moment that you're going through your credibility and your capabilities briefing, and you get to those pain points that clients are like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what's happening inside of our organization right now. And they're grabbing your arm, and you're like, now I know that my messaging is right, that I am talking about the things that are happening inside of organizations, and you're getting that real time feedback. That is how you're able to really recoup the investments that you've made, not just in money, but in the years of your lives of building your professional network, and then move these people into a conversation with you, not because they're ready to buy from you today, but because you're coming from a place of service, because you're coming from a place of insights and education and knowledge exchange, and you're coming at it with just such a high degree of business acumen in the way that you're approaching the conversation. And then you've got the meeting, you show up, you freaking knock it out of the park, because you're using our step by step, exacting, precise framework for how to have that conversation. And then they're saying, yes, this is exactly what's going on inside our organization. And in many cases, it can lead to an opportunity then, but it's also backfilling that pipeline for the future. So you're able to grab the folks who are like, oh my gosh, I did not know you helped with this. I did not know that we could call on you for this. I wasn't even thinking to reach out to you. You've got that group of folks, the what we call the ready now group. And then you have the ready soon group. And those are the people that start going into your pipeline. They're like, I'm so glad we've had this meeting. I'm so glad you took the time to meet with me and tell me that you can support with X, Y, and Z, because we will be in the very near future dealing with X, focusing on improving Y, needing someone to help us with Z. And now that we've had this meeting, we're definitely going to reach out to you. We have had clients who've kind of gone through this process, and they've had a credibility and a capabilities briefing with someone from their Rolodex. And then it doesn't, they're one of the sort of ready soon or ready later type of prospects. They kind of put them into that pipeline. Next thing you know, 3 months goes by, 4 months goes by, 6 months goes by, and boom, here comes an opportunity, because the groundwork was laid with that decision maker. Meanwhile, we have the folks who go out, they're doing the credibility and capabilities briefings with their Rolodex and finding the folks who are ready now. They're like, I didn't even know to call you. We need help with this. Can you help us with this? Like, now, can you help us with this? And of course, the answer to that is yes. This is all part of something that we do at Bold House called the Corporate Client Cash Flow Program. And one of the things that we include in this program is a done with you workshop to walk you step by step through building your actual credibility and capabilities briefing. It is our secret sauce, it is our proprietary formula for how we structure these conversations. And it is truly game changing. And what I love about the corporate client cash flow program is that it is completely wrapped in an additional container of support, but it's all centered around building that credibility and capabilities briefing. And what happens for folks in the process of building their CCB, their credibility and capabilities briefing, is first of all, they're finally able to pull together all of their expertise, like everything, all their years of experience, all their degrees, all of their credentials, all of their client list, everything, and like just wrap their arms around it, bring it all in together to be able to talk about it in a really concise and yet powerful way. That's like kind of a mic drop moment, right? Of like, boom, this is why you're qualified. This is why you're here talking to this organization and to these decision makers and authority figures, because you have the chops, you have the road experience, you have the credentials to do it. And I will tell you, we call it entrepreneurial amnesia, because so many folks out there, when they start their business, they end up forgetting all of these other things that they've done in their lives. That is such powerful credibility. So we're able to pull all of that together. We're able to really better align what you do with organizations in a way that they can see it from their perspective and better be able to connect the dots. This is where we help folks really think through what is their client journey, so that they're not out there just offering these once and done dead end opportunities, but they're really saying to the client, look, in an ideal world, this is the journey of how we work together. And this is the power of planting seeds with your decision makers. Because if you wait for them to be ready, if you wait for decision makers to call you, guess what? They've already decided that they just need a half day workshop. They've already decided that they just need to have an executive coach deal with this one problem manager over here. They've already decided that you can just come in and do a keynote and some assessments, and that's all they need. I mean, that's ridiculous, right? That's absurd. But that's what happens when you wait for the prospects to come to you, when you wait for the phone to ring. On the other hand, when you're the one who has tremendous business acumen on how to craft these conversations, how to get these folks to accept your invitation to have a conversation with you because they see how it would be of value to them to have that conversation, and you structure the conversation in the right way that they can instantaneously see not just what you do, but more importantly, they can see exactly when they should get started working with you and exactly how they're going to know and what that on ramp to working with you is going to look like. And that is really how you differentiate yourself. You want to know how to differentiate yourself? That is how you differentiate yourself. Um, hey guys, hey, it's good to see you. I see Emily there. I've literally hid under my desk to avoid this when I was in corporate. Oh, that's so interesting. That's awesome. That's yes. So I think what's really interesting, right, is when I was in corporate, there was nothing I hated more than having a sales, having to sit through a sales pitch, right? We absolutely hate sitting through sales pitches. And I think one of the things that for me personally, when I really found the sort of way forward was when I would start contacting the vendors that we had used. And I would say, I really don't understand what it is that you guys do. I know we've worked with you with X, Y, and Z, but we've got a million problems to solve in here. And you've never bothered to educate me. I have absolutely no idea, how you can support us. And that's really kind of interesting, right? When you're working with an organization or people have come to a breakout session that you've done or a webinar, and they're like, this is really great information, but I have absolutely no idea how I would ever work with your organization, how you're working with other organizations that maybe I can learn something from and I can kind of steal an idea of how they're leveraging you. Maybe we should be leveraging you the same way. That's sort of the whole, for those of you who've studied the levers of influence, right? That idea of the fear of missing out. And so, what was really interesting to me was when I left corporate, I'm like, there is a way to have conversations from a place of service, conversation that's like, here is the insights I'm going to bring you that you don't have. And then also, just so you know, here is really where we can support you when the time comes versus a sales pitch of I am here today to sell you something. And I think the differentiation between those two things may sound small, and yet they are worlds, universes, galaxies apart, right? They're a galaxy apart. And so, what's so interesting for us is as folks learn the process that we use here at Bold House, that sort of that proprietary framework of how you have a credibility and a capabilities briefing with a leader, with a decision maker, and the leaders and the decision makers are like, wow, this has been so helpful. Like, this has been a really great conversation. We had a client recently who shared with us that after her third or fourth one, people kept asking her, where did you learn to have a conversation with us in this way? It is so helpful. It is so effective. And so we would love to help those of you who are really sick of doing all of this marketing and then not getting to the conversations, not really getting the football the last 20 yards down the football field into the end zone, because no amount of marketing, no amount of visibility will bring in clients and revenue to your business in the B2B space until you have a conversation, right? It's the conversations that create cash flow. So we have two of these live done with you workshops coming up very, very quickly. One is happening at the end of March. The other is happening toward the beginning of April. And so if you are really sick of doing all the marketing and sitting on a Rolodex of connections, a professional network that has not really been tapped into, and these are people who respect you, people who know you, people who've gotten to meet you through conferences and other avenues, and you haven't monetized that or leveraged the power of it, and you're like, I want to do it in a way that's really high integrity, that's in alignment with who I am, that doesn't feel salesy and is coming from a place of service, we can show you exactly how to do that. In fact, we can do more than show you. We can actually help you build the process in your business. So if you were sitting on a professional network that has not been activated, let me tell you that that is absolutely your fastest path to increasing cash flow in your business. It is not building another marketing funnel. It is not growing your, following on social media. There's nothing wrong with growing your following, but the fastest path to really create 5, 6, and 7-figure engagements in your business is to have conversations with real decision makers and be fully in control of those conversations. And that's what our corporate cash flow program is all about. So if that's something you need support with, I definitely want to encourage you to book a call with our team. We'll chat with you about it. We'll go through what's included in that program for you and really help you unlock the financial and impact potential that is sitting in your contacts list right now, in your professional network right now. Tremendous amount of business opportunity there, not just for your revenue perspective, but in terms of potential opportunity to get your transformation that you lead forward in the world, to really get that out into the world in a much bigger way. So schedule, if that is something you need help with, if you do not have an exact framework for how to have conversations with potential clients, your prospects, with your existing clients for more work, with centers of influence, with strategic introducers, that's really the next step that has to be addressed in your business. And this would be the best way to do that. I dropped the URL below for those of you who want to talk to us about what that looks like. I've got that URL here. We've got a workshop in March. We've got a workshop in April. They're completely virtual. There's no travel. And they're really kept to a really small, intimate number because we're really doing a done for you exercise with you. So wanted to pop in here and share that with all of you before heading off. I am now off to lacrosse practice with one of my teens. So that's where I'm heading next. I got to get out of all of this before heading over to lacrosse, but I want to pop in and have this quick conversation. Have a great rest of your week, everyone, and I will talk to you soon.